please tell us what are design trends? Tell the audience that's listening, what are design trends that you see gaining popularity in that will be gaining popularity in the next couple of years or few years, and what's the advice that you can give them?
That's a great question. You know, the Gen Zers that are coming that are here, it's a generation of they love experience, and they're very conscientious of the earth. They're more concerned about the environment. These are the things that really that really vibe with them, are things like the experience. So they don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money on their home because they want to do more traveling. So it's here. It's the tree you say about trend. And I don't think it's a trend only just because that's just the way Gen Zers think. Is you're going to see a lot of tiny homes. I see that with Airbnbs. That definitely, you can call it a trend, but I think it's a trend that's going to stay for a while. And don't see it leaving soon. We used to call them back in the years, they called shotgun. They used to be called shotgun houses. Today we're calling them townhouses. Because Gen Zers are very they're minimalist in the sense that they're, like I said, they're very save the earth. That's their whole mentality. Everything that comes from is that, right? Let me tell you. So they're thrifting a lot, and you're seeing a lot of layering, and we're talked about eclectic. So we're going into that. We're seeing where you can go into a Goodwill or Good Sam's, and let me tell you, can't look down at that, because you can find some beautiful pieces and incorporate that and make it look expensive. And for the most part, for some of these, they were expensive. But because you're getting them at a thrift store, you're not going to pay that. But they're very into recycling, saving the earth. They don't want it to go to wasteland. So they rather incorporate it in their house. So you're seeing now, I think the millennials were more clean lines, minimalistic, right? Where the Gen Zers, they're very minimalistic as well, but they're incorporating thrift design in there. A lot of layering going on, lots of layering in a minimal way, if that makes sense. But they're finding a way, and those are fun to do. Let me tell you, they're very economical to do as well.
Wow, that's super interesting, Janina. That I hadn't even thought of that, but that's what it feels like. I mean, I just photographed a tiny home myself, and it goes back to the functionality and the aesthetics, right? You have to be very conscious of that, because now you're limited with space. So everything has either a double purpose, or there's a lot of uh, there's a lot of those containers that may be hidden, like you mentioned, or space when before in a big regular home, there's a lot of dead space that we don't realize, but you utilize all of it, all the space in a tiny home, which is really awesome. And that's where you come to play and say, hey, you know what? There's some dead space here that we can be
Yeah,
using, you know?
like the bottom of a staircase. A bottom of the staircase is space that, you know, traditionally would be put into a drywall and we're done with it, right? But we're incorporating shelving in there, maybe clothes, a closet. There's so many ways to incorporate. I would like to share with you that we're talking about space, what's called a double decker. Organization is so important. And I will tell you, as a designer, usually there's organizers that just do that, and then interior design, which are two separate things. But because I love design, organizing so much, I'll incorporate it in the design. And you really need it with Airbnb. But let me show you. So, for example, you see this?
Mhm.
It's a double decker. Can you see?
Love that. Yes. Oh, look at
Okay,
that.
so it's
Yes.
two spaces. and then incorporating like you need the space on the counter, but you got to find a place. We find a little cubby hole, things like that. A trash can bin being inside, all tucked and neat, but at the same time, it has function.
Love it. That's so, so good. And I could definitely see a lot of that being used in a tiny home. I mean, like you said, these new Gen Zs that you described, that's what they're looking for, functionality and saving their earth. Also, saving space and being very practical. That is really awesome. I love that.
I, I do too. And it's funny because they're minimalistic in their way of thinking, but yet they want whatever it is they want experience. Really, it comes down to experience. They just want to have that experience in everything. For example, like in a bathroom, right? Um, it might be a small space, but it's luxurious. And the way that if you do your big large tiles, wall tiles, I call them, from floor to ceiling, it expands that whole space, but it feels luxurious to them because all these things are so important to them. So I'm seeing a lot of that. I really respect the Gen Zers. I really do. In their way of thinking. It's like all those years of us going to school and them being educated on how important it is that we respect our earth here. It's coming out.
Yes.
They're definitely seeking that in their living and everything. And even the baby boomers, believe this or not, I have done 3 homes already. If you go down, there are two demographics. Either the very young couple that don't have decided to not have children, maybe later on in life or whatever, or maybe just have 1 or 2 kids with the dog. They don't want a lot of yards. Some of them don't. They want it really minimalistic. So they're going to places in downtown, which we talk about culture, like the Pearl. And it's because it's so minimalistic, you can't have too much furniture in there. But I do think you took some pictures of one that I did at the Pearl. But and so that it's very minimal. And then you have the baby boomers or the Gen Zers, people like in my age group, where they're just done. They're done with stuff. They're done with having to care for the lawn. And so they're moving over to places like the Pearl, and they're just having what they absolutely need, and just having that feeling of just, I'm going to go ahead and just have it minimal and not have to worry about a lot of things. And they're retiring and not having to worry about, they just want to experience, they want to live in a place where they feel like they're on vacation 24/7.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And you're right, very minimal. It's like you said, the retirees are now, and that's a word that I discovered as I getting older, downsizing.
Yeah,
Downsizing is
downsizing.
important because at least when I grew up with my family, and I'm gonna go back to you, it was about, oh, we're gonna have this and that, and our garage was always full, every room is full to the max, even now,
Yeah.
this office is full of all kinds of stuff. But the idea, and that's an art on its own, and I remember Picasso says the art is the elimination of the unnecessary. Keep it
Oh, wow.
simple.
Yes.